Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Is there anything that sums up the Greens political party more than what we're just going through right now? A performative motion full of wedge politics, aimed to elicit an emotional response, and I was expecting them to come up here and, come out fighting. They didn't even show up. What's going on? It shows that they're performative politics at best. They put up the words and they don't back it with action. They'll spread this motion out to their supporters and say how they're in Canberra fighting the good fight and they're in the Fed chamber putting up this motion. And here we are today at 7:26 p.m. We've got hard-working members of the Albanese government here speaking on this motion, putting the record straight. And, Deputy Speaker, they couldn't even be bothered to show up to debate their own motion because, and that just sums up the difference between us two. Yeah. We come here and we work. We work to solve some of these problems that the Greens identify. They just identify them. They don't do much about it. Yeah. They just talk about it, or they'll go hold up their placards. But when it actually comes to doing what we need to do in this place to change the lives of Australians and to make our tax system fairer and to help with cost of living, they are no-shows, absolute no-shows. I cannot wait to tell my community about this, how the Greens perform out there in front of their supporters, but then they can't come here and actually have the debates that we need to move our country forward. So, like the Greens, I believe that multinationals should pay their fair share in tax. But unlike the Greens, we actually do something about it. Yeah. We actually do something about it. We came to government, we made it clear multinationals should not get away with exploiting loopholes and shifting profits offshore, while hard-working Australians often pay more than sometimes of these multinationals. For too long, these big corporations have dodged loopholes and used these loopholes to dodge tax, whilst everyday Australians like nurses, teachers and tradies and small business owners, I might add, have to pay their fair share. That's not right. And what do? We introduced laws to set global and domestic minimum tax for multinational corporations. We ensured that companies making profits in Australia should pay tax in Australia. That is a government that works. That is a government that introduces the laws that we need, not just empty motions and no-shows here in the Federation Chamber. This legislation was a critical step in line with our OECD global tax reforms. Under our change, any multinational enterprise with global revenues exceeding $1.2 billion will now be subject to a 15% minimum tax rate. That'll end the race to the bottom on corporate tax dodging. So if small businesses in particular, in Ryde, Epping and Eastwood are paying tax on their profits, then multinational corporations making billions in Australia should be doing the same. This is real action. Because if you believe the Greens political party, you think that nothing's being done. No. Yeah. You think that nothing's being done. Right. This motion is about playing politics instead of supporting progress. Since we took office, inflation had a 6 in front of it and has now fallen to something with a 2 in front of it. Real wages are rising again. Unemployment remains at 50-year lows, and 1.1 million jobs have been created. These numbers represent real Australians with jobs, real families with more money in their pockets, and a real difference in the cost of living pressures that people have been facing. And we've been able to deliver this economic reform, deliver increased multinational taxes, while also delivering cost of living relief. If you read the Greens political party motion, you'd think that no Australian is getting that relief, and that's simply not true. We've got tax cuts delivered to every taxpayer, all 13.6 million of them. That's every nurse, every teacher, every tradie, keeping more of what they earn, because we know it's working people who drive this economy. This motion talks about Medicare as if it stood still in time. And the Greens political party know that's not the case. Yeah. Labor has tripled the bulk billing incentive, the biggest boost to Medicare in 40 years, ensuring millions more GP visits are bulk billed and reducing out-of-pocket costs for families. We promised 50 urgent care clinics, but you know what? We've delivered more than 80. Wow. 80 urgent care clinics to cut emergency room wait times and deliver cost of living relief. And then on housing, we've committed more funding to housing in 3 years than the Liberals did in 10. $32 billion to deliver rental homes, social homes, affordable homes and market housing, whilst also helping those renters who want to buy their first home. Then there's students, $3 billion from student debt and more to come if we get re-elected. We're about action here on this side. When those bother to show up, all they do is talk.